Welcome to part 3 of VCV Rack in a nutshell, a series of videos, of short videos explaining and introducing certain VST Rack modules, fast and to the point. Today I'm going to apply the knowledge that we have gained in the last 2 videos to a polyphonic patch, to a 3-voice polyphonic patch. I'm going to construct a complex 6-stage envelope and use the stages to modulate pitch as well as timbre, and in some cases I use the end of cycle pulses of certain stages to trigger sample and hold units. Let's have a short look at the envelopes at first, I start the envelope by triggering the upstage module. The envelope starts with an attack phase up to maximum, here created by the leftmost stage module, followed by a decay down to about 4.5 volt. The maximum is 10 volt, of course, to 4.5 volt, from where these 4.5 volt here from the booster stage module are reached ahead to the hostage module, and this level of 4.5 volt is held for about a second here by the hostage module before it is reached through to the next booster stage, this one here, which decreases the level down to 0. These 0 volt are reached through to the next hostage module here and held for about, let's have a look, 2.5 seconds. And after these 2.5 seconds, the level of 0 volt goes to the stage, to the rightmost stage module, where it rises up to maximum 10 volt again. And the whole thing loops because the end of cycle jack, output jack of the rightmost stage module is patched into the trigger input jack of the upstage module, which reduces at once the level from maximum here to 0 again, so that the leftmost stage module can start doing its work. And this abrupt falling down to 0 we see here, and in a moment, here again. All right. The level developments of some of the mentioned envelope stages modulate the pitch, some modulate the timbre, and some modulate the volume of each voice. Well, let's have a look at these voices at first, therefore. High-quality ebooks about making music, sound design, professional music production. Each ebook includes hundreds of synthesizer patches to deepen what you are reading and legions of videos to illustrate it even more. Click the link below in the description to learn more about Rofel Media ebooks, your gateway to serious music making. Which is pitch modulated by CV coming through this VCA and the quantizer into the volt per octave input jack. The second voice is created by Basel, and once again Basel is pitch modulated by a CV coming through its VCA and quantizer. And the third voice is created by the micro oscillator, which is pitch modulated again by a CV coming, of course, all CVs coming here from the envelopes. I will talk about this later. And the macro oscillator is pitch modulated again through the quantizer. The scales, these 3 quantizers are adjusted to are only slightly different. The timbre of Basel is directly modulated by an envelope stage, by the envelope stages. And the output of Basel is sent through a plate reverb to the output mixer and then to the audio. All right, what does our complex envelope do with each of these 3 voices then? The first voice gets its pitch CV from the quantized version of the overall envelope, fetched from its rightmost stage module's output into the VCA to attenuate the voltages, the levels a bit, quantizer FMOP. And it's the same with the second voice, the Bezel voice, only that this time the voice is also timbre modulated. So at first, once again, the pitch modulation chain, it comes from the overall envelope. And the timbre modulation comes from the output of the right booster stage module here, which puts the modulation down to 0. The pitch modulation of voice 3, the macro oscillator, has a different source. It's the output of the left booster stage module. So let's have a look. Quantum, quantizer, attenuator, and the input comes here from the output of the left booster stage module. And this output additionally modulates the volume of voice 1. As you see here, the volume of voice 1. In other words, the pitch of voice 3 and the volume of voice 1 develop in parallels. The volume of voice 3 here is modulated by the overall envelope again, coming from the left stage module. All right, let's modify this patch a bit. Instead of making the envelope loop, I'm going to trigger the beginning of each envelope by LFOs now. The rate of the trigger LFO, the right one here, is modulated by the left LFO, and this results in envelopes of different lengths. Sometimes, even most of the times here, the envelope doesn't have a chance to complete all of its 6 stages before the next trigger impulse from the LFO arrives, and sometimes the LFO slows down that much or enough for all 6 envelope stages to be finished, and so on and so on. And what we get are ever-changing envelopes of different lengths and ever-changing different numbers of stages of the envelope. The rest of the patch is like it was before. I'm going to use the end of cycle pulses to trigger 3 sample and hold modules now. Each of the 3 voices has got its own sample and hold module modulating the pitch. Because I use the end of cycle pulses from different envelope stages, meaning from different at different times, the pitches of the voice changes at different times as well, and not only at different times, but also at different rates, of course. This means that some voices develop slower than others. I'm modulating also the timbre of all voices here. So from the first stage module, I take the modulation, the feedback modulation of the FM operator, and the modulation of Bezels is the same like before, and the modulation of the timbre modulation of the macro oscillator comes from the overall envelope again. I personally like this patch the most. It's partly slowly, and it's generating different harmonies. The scales are the same like before. The next video is not going to be about envelopes anymore. It's about a very interesting and quite complex module. Let yourself be surprised. All right? Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and have a nice day. Rolf.